Most people have not heard about this guy, but every single video he posts gets over 1 million views.
Writing with a feather might be more complicated than you think. How could you communicate to humans 10,000 years in the future that if they open this box, they'll die?
And just last month, his channel got almost 110 million views. He's never spoke about his process. You hardly even know who the guy is, but we sat down with Magnify and talked about his process for how he gets so many views on every single video.
That's when I figured out, oh, there's like millions of people watching shorts who don't even watch long form content. And you don't have to make a thumbnail. You don't have to make a title. It just gets served in their feed and they have to decide not to watch it. Over the course of a 30-minute train ride, you can learn a lot about like just the psychology of like what actually stops someone in their tracks.
Right.
I think it took 60 days exactly to hit the 100,000 subscribers on YouTube from posting the very first video.
All right, so welcome, Christopher, to, I don't really have a name for this podcast. You're just on my YouTube channel, but great to have you here. So getting started on this thing, you've got this crazy YouTube channel. It's kind of like a runaway train at this point. And I kind of want to get this thing kicked off of you and I actually have known each other for quite a while. So it's not just some random guy that's coming over. You have been, you've worked with me as an editor. You're still working with us for Tiffany's channel, but kind of tell me how, kind of tell the story of like how we met up with each other.
I was living in LA and moved out to South Carolina to be near my sister. And I think maybe you had like a job posting online.
I want to say it was Indeed. Nick was asking me, he was like, how did you guys actually meet? I was like, I think I had an Indeed posting because I was like needing a social media manager.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like 5 iterations of the business ago.
Right. The only thing that caught my attention was you had a couple YouTube videos on your YouTube channel. And I was like, hold on, this guy knows video and they're pretty good. And it's not anywhere near what you do now, which is kind of funny too. And I ended up using someone else for that role because they were actually a social media manager and that's what they've done. But I was like, I really like this guy. Do you want to help edit videos? And we'll kind of learn together because, I had a early stages of my business and you're like, well, I've never been a video editor. I was like, we'll figure it out.
I definitely had been like editing my own skits and things like that. But then with you over the course of literally probably 1,000 videos, it was like learning how to structure content that is going to be seen by more than just family and friends.
We were really focused on businesses. So getting away from you were doing skits and fun and having a good time. It's like, well, these people really only care about making money. So we had to really focus on our edits for how does this make the business money? And so just a different thought process.
It's interesting because when we were started, we were doing a lot of like long form testimonials with like super cinematic B-roll. And this is something that's 4 or 5 minutes long. And then really in the last couple of years, the whole like field of short form video really became its own thing. And like, I think we slowly figured that out and shifted a lot of material to like the 60-second narrative or the 60-second educational tidbit and like how to make the best one of those possible.
At some point in time, I transitioned you over to only working with a law firm because I needed someone else. And I was like, hey, you're better suited to only focus on one. And this business so well because you've been around us so much.
It really, I think, changed my whole way of seeing things just to focus on like what kind of creator is Tiff? What kind of content is she good at? And like, I can just stay in that. We can just stay in that zone.
I think that was about the time when you were like, hey, I want to start Magnify. So tell me about the day and the decision or what went into it. Cause you had a YouTube channel in the past. Did you convert the old YouTube channel or you
it's
just
still sitting out there?
Is it? I
keep maybe 1 or 2 videos that are still public. If any,
I won't say the name of it, but if you find it, I'll be interested. I know what it is. But yeah, so tell me about starting Magnify. Why did you start Magnify channel and when did that kind of happen?
I do think that making videos for Tiff, just one lawyer, opened up put a lot of light bulb moments of, oh, this is what like a brand, like a continuous brand and like putting all of your energy into one brand and being known for one type of video and like a consistency across the channel. So that kind of, after hundreds and hundreds of reps of doing that for someone else's channel, it was interesting to then kind of apply it to my own videos that I was making and try to apply some sort of consistent brand and marketing to a channel rather than just here's all the random things that I'm interested in. So just kind of that, I think, set me up to even entertain the possibility of creating my own consistent channel over a long period of time.
Right.
So I think I'd been going to the library a lot and been reading about a really nerdy topic of Bible translation. For some reason, it just like really fascinates me that like it's hard to translate words from one language to another, and like different cultures have different subtext to words. So it's like really challenging to even translate like a sentence. So I'd spent like a year at the library reading everything I possibly could. And I was like, I should probably like package this into something that other people can be as excited about it as I am. And I think at that time, really short form video didn't exist. It was like, if you wanted to make videos, it was like the YouTube video essay format, which is 30 minutes, 15 minutes minimum. Or like 6-second dance videos on TikTok. And those were really like the only categories of video that existed at that time. Remember that?
Yeah. No, this was like 2020, like late 2020, early 2021, somewhere in there. And so like TikTok was just becoming a thing that wasn't only dance. It was like people were slowly starting to do other things on there. I don't think YouTube Shorts existed, or it was very close to starting. And it was just a weird time in the transition over from really long form to, okay, vertical video is becoming a thing. It's becoming popular and people are consuming it at the masses. That was just like last January or February that like YouTube even like unrolled the idea of having a 60-second video. So at that time I was thinking, oh, I should make some shorts to promote these like long form essays about Bible translation. And then that's when I figured out, oh, there's like millions of people watching shorts who don't even watch long form content. And you don't have to make a thumbnail. You don't have to make a title. It just gets served in their feed and they have to decide not to watch it rather than having to like convince everyone to watch your video. It's like, this is amazing. So after that, it was not a hard decision to just go all in on shorts. Yeah, like you're cutting out the two most important things in YouTube when you're doing long form videos by doing shorts, the title and the thumbnail. You don't have to do that. And it's like, well, that's really the main thing that makes people click on videos. Well, I don't have to even think about it. Great idea. Awesome. So you started a channel and you had a strategy going in. Most people just start a channel and they're like, I want to post videos. That's what I hear all the time. You had an actual strategy. What was that strategy when you were going in and saying, okay, I'm starting a YouTube channel for shorts, for video essays on the Bible?
Well, you talk a lot about like different phases in business of like, you have to be known, liked, and trusted. And if people don't know you, they're not going to like you. So it's like, I think when you're first starting a channel and no one knows who you are, like it requires a different strategy than when like you're a face that someone would recognize in their feed. So like right from the beginning, I thought I should make a batch of 5 videos about Bible translation that all have the same background and have the same music. And I'm wearing the same shirt and they have the same style of hook. And I was like even using like a catchphrase at the beginning of my videos at that time, just so that like there would be some continuity, like continuity.
You were unknown. You had people had to kind of know what they were going to expect. It's kind of like you show up to a baseball field, you know what color your team's wearing, you know what team you're cheering for. So it's kind of that same general philosophy that you had. So you started the channel, you got your first batch in. Now you had a specific posting strategy. You said you were going to do, what was it, 60 days straight of posting?
That's true. For the first 6,
what a beast.
It might've been 50 days. It was just like, I'm going to post every single day. Some of those were high. I would say 3/4 of those were like high production value of like spending 8 hours of editing for 1 minute of content in order to keep up that pace for 60 days. Some of those were like I'm going to do a talking video that's just like a little creative. And
hello, I am Christopher. This is a Bible verse. Goodbye.
That didn't end up working because at that pace, after I think it took 60 days exactly to hit the 100,000 subscribers on YouTube from posting the very first video.
That's pretty quick.
But could not keep up that is a burnout pace after 3 or 4 months.
Oh,
I don't
absolutely.
know.
I remember you never told me that you were starting this channel.
Oh, yeah.
And
how did you find out about
I
it?
can't remember how. I think Tiff found out and was like, did you see these videos Christopher did? I'm like, no, is this on the other channel? And he's like, no. She was like, it's a completely different channel. They're super interesting. I think it came across her TikTok feed or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no. And we opened it up and you've got like 20,000 subscribers already. Went, what the heck? And so I immediately got on our Slack and I was like, I didn't know about this. This is awesome. What are you doing? Because at this point, our law firm channel was not this big at all. We might have been at 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers and you're already 10x that in the first 30 days. And I was like, what are you doing? What is your focus and what is your strategy? How are you doing this? And you're like, oh, well, I'm just doing everything that you tell your clients to do in consulting and I'm just doing it. I'm like, I hate you. Like this messed up, but you just did it and it proved, oh, well, if I find a good topic, a broad topic, and I follow through with the formula consistently, it works. Mm-hmm. So you've got 100,000 subscribers in 50 or 60 days. Crazy. What was the first video that you posted and you were like, oh, this one's big. Like this one kind of blew up. Do you remember what that video was?
I actually started on TikTok first and
because you were bigger on TikTok than YouTube for a while, right?
At the start. Yeah. YouTube takes a little bit, I think a little longer to like figure out who you are. But the thing I really like about TikTok is it's like really generous with like new users. I don't know of any other platform that like somebody who's never posted anything, made an account this morning, can post a video and they give you the benefit of doubt and they'll send it to 6 million people, 10 million people. Like that doesn't happen on any other platform. Right. So it's like a very generous platform. And so I had that batch of like 5 topics about Bible translation issues. And the first one we posted to TikTok just got 100,000 views right out of the gate, which I think if you started a YouTube channel and just posted a video, not that. A Facebook group, literally 0. Like that's a slow burn platform. Yes. The second video we posted to TikTok also got 100,000 views. And then the third video was like about how the name, the 10 Commandments in the Bible is a mistranslation. And that video got 1 million views.
And that was the one you were standing on the mountain, right?
Oh yeah,
side of the hill.
B-roll of some giant.
I've seen them all.
And at that point, that was still like I was thinking that was a promotional short for this longer video I did about a deep dive into the 10 Commandments. But then just seeing that the third short you post connected with 1 million people, so I feel that's like probably the best thing about TikTok is if you have like an idea for a channel or like a concept for a template for a type of video, really, if you make a batch of 5 videos, you should be able to tell by the time those are posted whether or not the idea is going to be a hit.
That's really good advice. Yeah. I don't think enough people do that. Like use other platforms to test on if your main platform that you want to use is effective. Yeah.
And then like YouTube was a bit slow. Like it doesn't trust you right off the gate to be like, oh, this new person, let's just broadcast their thing to the world. But then knowing that, oh, this did connect with this many people on TikTok, which is a more generous platform, made me feel like, okay, even though these first ones on YouTube are only getting 10,000 views and doesn't feel like much compared to the other one, but there's the audience is there.
So that 1 million viewed video on TikTok, did that also do well on YouTube or just eventually it did well?
It took some time. So like that same video, I started on YouTube about a month after TikTok. So it was like a month delay.
A delay.
And when I posted that, I was like, why is this only getting 20,000 views versus 1 million? But I think what's crazy about the YouTube algorithm is it's still serving people videos that I posted a year ago. And people like are just finding those out, which also means that those are just like still racking up views and dollars from like a year, from stuff you posted a year ago. Whereas TikTok, I feel like there's probably like 4 days and then it's in the dustbin of history and no one is watching it unless they're going to your page and like just binge watching all of your content, which TikTok doesn't even pay you for. Did you know that TikTok doesn't like pay for like unless it shows up in their natural like For You page? So it's like
See, I don't use TikTok. I just scroll on TikTok. I know nothing about how it works. You explained the YouTube algorithm really well for me. And we talk about this. We study this all the time. Like you and I would consider like YouTube nerds that like we'll look at videos, we'll break them down, we'll try and figure out how to do XYZ. And you explained the YouTube algorithm to me one time really well.
About like the tiers, maybe?
Yes, the tiers and like once you hit the ceiling on a tier or breakthrough, how you had to massage it so it knows like, yes, I'm good. That's right. And you can break through the next one. That was really interesting the way you explained it.
That was just like a pattern that I noticed when growing to like that first 100,000. I noticed that there seemed to be different tiers that YouTube would like treat your content as. And so for a while at the beginning, it was like every video I posted would get 10,000 views and occasionally one would get 100,000. And then at some point, something just switched and literally everything I posted would get 100,000 views and occasionally get 1 million. And then from there, it was like just...
Now you're like, oh gosh, this one only got 3 million views. What did I do wrong?
Now it's probably like 1 million is like its baseline distribution. And then occasionally if something like is really a hit, it will get 10.
Yeah, you've got one with like 38 million or 34. It's astronomical.
I don't know if there's a tier above that, but
you will soon. No, the way you explained it to me was so interesting though, with the tiers, and then also you said something about like when you hit that ceiling, that one when you're always hitting 10,000, and you get the 1 to 100,000. Your next few videos, you really should focus on quality. It's not just posting something that's average. It's like, I think this one is better than the 100,000 viewed video, because you want another one to hit the top of the next ceiling more times in a row. And the more times you can get it in a row, hitting the next ceiling, you've now broken through to the next tier. And it's like, oh, everything's now at 100. My goal is to get that 1 to 1 million now. And when you explain it that way, I was like, that makes sense. And I can explain that to other people of quality is so important. And it's not just throwing a bunch of crap out there.
I think we're both of the mind that like less is definitely more, and that filler content to just...
It used to be opposite. That
is true.
Like when we were really in the marketing days, we were like, we have to just post all the time because we listened to Gary Vee, and Gary Vee was growing. And at that time, it was kind of like that. Or just like the more content you can put out, the more eyeballs you could see. And there's so much content out there now. It's like, well, the crap is kind of getting thrown out and the quality is rising to the top.
I think especially with YouTube, since it's serving these videos from literally up to a year ago, that even if you're posting 3 times a week, the people that just discovered you a month ago are still seeing a new video of you every single day. So from their point of view, it seems like you're posting out that high volume. So YouTube is very forgiving if you take 3 or 4 days in between serving a quality video that the target audience that it has you matched with loves. It's patient. It's willing to wait for you to take a couple days to like nail it.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so many videos on YouTube. So since there's so many, that it's okay to wait a day or two. They're not just sitting there at their computer like, I have to have Christopher post another video about Ironland right now. It's just, they're not waiting. You're hoping they wait, but if you wait 3 or 4 days, there's plenty of other videos for them to look at on the whole platform. So you've got this channel, it's growing in the background, and you're spending time on it. You're working with us with the law firm. And there's a point where it becomes real, whatever real is. Like, what is that moment where you're like, oh, this is a real thing. It's not just like my side project anymore. Like, this is a thing somehow.
It was like a pretty significant moment, I think, when like my partner and producer like left her full-time job just to help make shorts. I think that's when it clicked with me that like, oh, short form video isn't just like a way to funnel people into long form videos. It's not like a side quest. It's like the main marketplace for attention and like some of the most valuable real estate online. So that was like a moment of like, oh, and I feel like a very unusual moment in history, because up until literally last February, when YouTube monetized shorts, it wasn't even possible for there to be full-time shorts creators unless you're like a lifestyle influencer on Instagram and like selling without sponsorships.
Yeah, like you have a different business that you're funneling people into to buy your apparel or your lipstick or whatever that other business is. That could also be it. Yeah,
but it's weird now that there's enough eyeballs on short form video that you can make a living without any sponsorships, without having a single sponsor.
Yeah,
which is wild. That's never existed in history.
Right.
And shortly after like YouTube monetized shorts, TikTok made a switch to only monetizing content over 60 seconds. So like all of a sudden it's just like.
So do you, on your TikTok, when you post a TikTok, do you like add in or leave in like an extra couple seconds to make sure it gets over 60? Because on YouTube, you have to have it under 60.
Yeah, I think you've got to do two different versions because
in theory, it's the same video, but you have to add in just a little bit, right?
Which is really nice because if there's extra material that sometimes getting down to 60 seconds, a hard cutoff for YouTube is like very painful. So it's really nice if there's like extra.
Yeah, you're like, dang, I wanted to put this one more sentence in. Well, there you go.
TikTok will eat it up. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. I wonder if people even notice, because I didn't notice that. I know it because I know you have to do that, but I haven't noticed it watching the videos. They seem exactly the same to me. So the other thing, and you didn't mention this, and I know this was kind of that eye-opening. We get it a lot. Tiff does real estate closings. We get people seeing her in the community all the time. Tell me about the time when you got noticed and recognized when you weren't anywhere close to home.
Yeah, that's
when it became real too.
That was like a kind of a wake up call because like looking at the analytics, the numbers don't always.
Yeah, it's just numbers.
I can look and see that like 40 million unique people have watched one of our shorts and half of them are from the US. So that's about
20 million?
1 in 15 to 1 in 20 adults in the US that have like watched my face for a minute. And that's hard to fathom what that means. But then like I took a trip, like a research trip to Boston, which is, hundreds of miles away. Don't know anyone there personally. And like being on the train there, one of my favorite things is like to watch people on their phones. Because like if you're standing up on the train, you can like watch how people engage. You mentioned that a lot of you would go to the gym and you had a real estate agent friend and you're like, hey, can you just get on Instagram? I just want to watch how you interact on Instagram. And it's really unique. One of the most educational experiences is just saying like, there's certain things that people will swipe within a quarter of a second. It's just no, no, no. Like if it's plastered with all this weird text and like ads and logos, it's just an instant no. Yeah, and then like really seeing like what kind of hook for someone who's watching with no sound, like what kind of thing just gets them to pause and like just over the course of a 30-minute train ride, you can learn a lot about like just the psychology of like what actually stops someone in their tracks. Right. So it was weird being in Boston and just like watching someone and then like seeing your own video pop up and then they stick around and watch it and you're like, oh, I think that's when it's like the Homer Simpson meme when you're just going back into the bushes. Like, don't turn around. And then like walking around town or being in a museum and people like I know you recognizing you for the first time kind of made it real that like, oh, if you're a short form video creator, you're like a part of people's day. Like they might watch you on their way to work 3 or 4 times a week. And so that made it real that it's like not just this thing you're posting that's going out into the void, but it's like every person who watches short form videos probably has 30 or 40 people who are part of their little universe of creators that they watch everything that they post. And so that's like, I think when it became real that it's like, oh, you can use short videos to be like a part of someone's morning routine or evening routine and like be a part of their life.
Yeah. When you told me that, you're like, I got noticed, and it wasn't anywhere close to home. I was like, yeah, it's gonna happen, man. Like you got 1 million subscribers, you're gonna get noticed. So with your channel, we kind of have like a viral video formula is what I kind of call it. And there's a formula to it. Anybody that can watch and likes research can break it down. But if you were kind of putting it into like, what's the formula generally that you use, or how do you find these topics that, I'm only posting good videos? And I mean, you kind of know everything's going to get 1 million views now. What are some of the points you're making for your formula?
I think my number one rule for like an educational short, number one rule is that there just has to be one piece of information that like genuinely surprises me. It's not necessarily good enough to be like informational or helpful. The only consistent thing I found that gives me some confidence that a topic can get 1 million views is that it has at least one thing that just makes me stop and go, wait, what?
Yeah.
You mentioned this in like, you filmed like a video class for other creators, and you talked about in your hook, you want the first 5 seconds to result in someone like having an emoji experience that's either like wow or a heart emoji or crying.
Yeah.
WTF.
Yeah. All of the acronyms for some sort of emotion, like that's what we're trying to get.
So I think you could do it for any of those genuine emotions. For me, for an educational video, I think the best emotional response is one of surprise, because it's like if it surprises me, it's likely to really shock someone else. And that's what's going to get someone to like share it to someone else rather than just sitting on it, I guess.
Yeah. So you also are very big on props, and your lovely co-creator over here for the designing the props. How have you kind of incorporated props, and how have you seen the utilization of those like impact your videos?
Definitely have been using them mostly for like a visual hook. So it's great if in the first 5 seconds you can verbally interest someone with a fact, but then if as soon as they scroll, you're holding something or pull out something that elicits that surprise, then you've really planted that hook in the first frame, which is like, that's the ideal. Sometimes there's videos that it's not really possible to do that with a physical prop, but if there is, I think that's probably the number one thing that can make you stand out in people's feeds right now, because like a lot of people, it's like common for people to be like, have text on the screen that they're pointing to, or be looking directly at the camera. Those are like things people are expecting. But if you have like a prop, it's kind of like a broadcast of value that like, I thought this, I'm not speaking off the cuff. This was like planned. And I have something.
That's
for
what
you.
I was going to say. Like they see that you're going above and beyond. And I am thinking of this. I'm not just kind of coming up with it, because I have a whole prop here that I made talking about exactly what we're going to talk about. I think our favorite prop is what the robot. Friendly robot. Haven't named him yet. Maybe we should have a name for the robot. Yeah. So your channel's crazy. I have a friend we've interviewed on the branded studio tour. We went Dustin Howdy show, and I was explaining to him like your channel, and he knew nothing about your channel, which is fine, but they've got 1.6 million subscribers. So he's big on YouTube. I explain him your channel. I'm like, hey, look at this. This is Christopher. It's killing it. Look at it's Magnify. I'm doing all the things. I'm showing him the videos, and he's like,
he's cheating.
This doesn't make sense. I'm like, what do you mean it doesn't make sense? He's like, this guy's, how many bots does he use? I'm like, he doesn't use bots. It's just people watching the videos. I don't understand what you're saying. He's like, this is impossible. I'm like, it's not impossible. I'm looking at it. I've watched him from zero. He's more, I've known him from zero. And he's like, but it can't be. He has more engagement. He has more views, and he's growing at a faster rate than Mr. Beast. I'm like, yeah, he's doing good, isn't he? But that's the growth of the channel. And for you, you're so humble. Like you're just like, it's just a YouTube channel, but it's really impressive. It's really, really impressive. And I think it's because of the way you tell a story. I also think it's the way you come across. You're very trustworthy. You're not taking from anybody. You're just trying to explain and educate, and you're doing all the things that you're super passionate about. I mean, how many books did you read last year? Yeah.
Probably 200 about Bible translation, and then,
just 200 on Bible
then
translation.
Flip through a few more.
Yeah.
I think your friend was confused that like the channel was growing at such a pace and has such like a reach. Then why aren't you reading about it in the newspaper?
Exactly.
Why isn't it on the news? Because he's a long form creator, built a huge business, and like culture understands long form YouTube creators.
It's been
like,
around since
for
what,
10
2008?
years,
Yeah.
like John Green, Vsauce, like society understands that. Like
there's people that have been on YouTube, had an entire career, and now retired because of YouTube.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like they've lived lives already.
So that's like a business that culture understands. And with short form video really only being financially and like
it's a year
artistically
and some months.
I don't even think I don't even think like the New York Times understands that like
what is a
most
short?
people exactly. I don't think they understand that like most people when they pick up their phone they're watching 60-second clips and like that's where they're getting their news. And that's where they're getting their education. That's where they're getting their fashion ideas. And that's where they're getting their political opinions. And that's where I don't think it's crossed into the public threshold that like, hey, you should interview shorts creators about what they're doing.
Which is why I thought it was really interesting to bring you on. You know, this is your first ever podcast that you've done. And I'm like, people need to know about you. I know you like to stay private, but also the people that are in this shorts creator world, I think you have such a great value and strategy and thought process on what you do. Like more people need to know that you are doing such a good job. And that's why I'm like, well, yeah, let's get you over here. We need to get this out to people.
The audience on YouTube Shorts is just so huge. So if someone wants to like go all in on a movie channel or a construction channel, that's not a feeder into a long form, like watch my 20-minute renovation videos, just watch my 60-second educational shorts.
I'll do the 20-minute renovation in 20 different shorts.
Hundreds of lanes in science and humanities, law that are just like really kind of up for grabs right now. So
yeah, you get me excited about recording shorts and thinking about shorts in a different way. And I think a lot of people should. We completely focused on shorts a lot more after you really started taking off with the law firm. And I mean, we've got multiple videos with, I mean, one's got over 1 million, one's real close. This is a law firm. Like this is not like exciting stuff. It is the law. And we're not doing like recaps of wild law articles. We are educating people on the law. This is not exciting. So it's really interesting of the opportunity that's out there and what kind of you've discovered. And, you know, we've kind of molded over the years of what works. So transitioning kind of into all of that right now, everything's great. We've got Ironland, which is the funniest, biggest thing that's happened. We should probably talk a little bit about what's going on
the
with
micronation we started
with the country that you have created. This is I think I read on one of your videos like this guy's gonna have the best dad jokes, like hey kids, you remember the time when I started a country just for fun? So where did the idea of Ironland come about, and if people don't know about it, what is it?
So I was just researching the idea of micronations in general. Like there's all these people around the world in Utah that just decide that their backyard is going to be a sovereign country, maybe because they got their tax bill in the mail and they can't pay it. And so they're like, think it's a way out or something. Or there's a variety of reasons. Some people like, maybe they're a climate activist, and there's one in Antarctica that they started because they want to bring attention to the fact that Antarctica might be habitable in the future. So like having a micronation down there kind of is a political move. other people do it as just like an art project. There's one micronation that's just like a rock that a woman carries around in a suitcase.
Okay.
And kind of just like kind of a satire of just like, okay, why do people claim to own territory to begin? So there's like a variety of different reasons. And I was like, I want to tell people about these. And then I just as an afterthought thought, oh, I should just declare my own as like a really good hook. So I just recorded a 10-second intro.
There's a 12-foot iron statue. I like that. That is now Ironland. Is that pretty much how it was?
Well, my producer actually is the reason for this entire thing happening, because when I was laying in bed thinking about it, I was going to call it Steamlandia.
Ironland has a better ring to it.
And I told that to her, and she's like, that's the worst name I've ever heard. And so she said, you should call it Ironland. And then that's really the reason. That video would have gotten 20,000 views if it was Steamlandia.
And I mean, just immediately, the most comments you've ever gotten, the most engagement a video has ever gotten so quickly.
Just like an absurd amount. I was like, generally get a pretty high amount of engagement, a good amount of comments and likes, like a pretty, like.
This was like 5 or 6 times.
Some of them, those first ones were literally 10 times. It was like weird to see like a Mr. Beast video that has 70 million views have fewer comments than a video that I had that just had 1 million views. And so that was like, there's something in here that like, maybe because it's an election year, maybe because I think it was like right after that like presidential debate when everyone was just like, what on earth is going on in the world? Like, who are these guys? Or like, what is going on in the world? And then like this retreat into like fantasy of some. So I don't know if it had to do with the timing of all that, but it was definitely. You should have
did Golflandia. That would have definitely hit after that.
They were both bragging about their scores. So. And it was weird that it wasn't just like US. It was like kind of people from all over the world. So the second video we did was like about the first embassy for our micronation. We drove over to Sevierville and there's like a Dolly Parton statue. So we thought it was funny to have like the embassy of an iron statue be like another statue. And like from that video, I think we got emails from 35 other countries, like weird, like not location, like island country like Fiji and like Argentina, Nepal, like places that you wouldn't even think are parts of the world that I hadn't engaged with on like YouTube directly.
You're not just like, hey, I know the ambassador of Fiji. Like, no, it's just it's a country.
Organically just
big shout out to Romania. Big friends there. So they were the first, it's like the travel and tourism board.
Yeah, it's like a tourism.
Yeah. So they commented on there and that became a big thing of, Romania's official TikTok account for the travel and tourism had commented on
I think
there.
they kind of threw it out as a joke. Like, we'll recognize you if you help us get to 2 million followers because they were about 200,000 off.
Yeah.
But, it was literally in one day they got 300,000 followers from like everyone all banded together. So
it's funny to see like the places of what kind of happened and where things are going with it. And I mean, you're on what 5, 6, 7, 8 videos on Ironland now.
Yeah, out there.
Yeah, and I mean, you just had one, and I think it's because of the Olympics. I don't know if you did this on purpose. I would assume so. But like the 2 flags comparing each other, that they're the same exact flag, 10 million plus views. I keep looking, and every time I look, it's got 1 million more views. And I'm like, okay, cool. Good job, guy.
YouTube itself commented on that one the other day.
Oh, really?
I was kind of.
It's super interesting. Like the people that comment that you don't think are watching, like the Romania thing, YouTube comment. I'm sure you've had other like big people where you're like, why are you watching my stuff? We commented from the law firm, and like that one comment got 40,000 likes on the comment. And it's like, well, this is crazy. Like, it's crazy at how much people are like invested into this little Ironland thing that you kind of made as a joke one night of what is a micronation? So that kind of like moves into like, what's next for Magnify. You know, you've got this cool channel, you've got the Ironland series, you've got a lot of fun things, but I mean, it's not like this is you don't have a business that you're really pushing things to, but at the same time, you need to have, you know, financial security to live and continue doing this. So kind of what is your next things that you're focused on? Where are you taking this channel, and kind of what's your goal with it?
There's definitely been a lot of different options of like, you could move into long form content or make a movie script about Ironland. Part of me doesn't want to move away from shorts because it's so exciting for me. And it's like where people's attention is at. So I could see expanding into making more shorts. Like my brother's a science teacher. It's like nobody's making nobody's doing what this channel's doing, but for science right now.
Interesting.
So like, that really interests me to be like, if you can boost the educational presence on TikTok and YouTube of like the really interesting information,
less dancing, more education.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting too. And I mean, I have a 2-year-old, and so like kids YouTube is crazy. What about kids shorts? Haven't really seen anything. You just sparked my interest. So, you know, there's a lot of opportunity for that. And like, what if you did 60-second videos for kids that's also educational? So you're teaching them a lesson every 60 seconds to learn something. So it could be like how to write the letter A.
Does she control her? Does she go through her own?
She doesn't go through. She doesn't have YouTube yet, but she like she has an Amazon Kindle pad. I don't know what it's called. We call it her iPad because it's easy for me to say. I'm the one that it's an iPad for. But it's got like a bunch of like learning games through Amazon, and she'll go through and navigate the games, and she'll be like, I want to play this one, and it's got matching, and she'll go through it and do it herself. And I mean, it's not like she's old. She's 2 months and 2 years and 3 months and can figure that out already.
What do you think would be a good like move from like a branding or being like a studio perspective?
That's a really good question. But I do think it's that education piece. It's getting people to understand how the formula works, because there is a formula to it. And I really do think a lot of our growth, you know, my growth specifically, comes a lot from having this collaboration of ideas. When I'm coming up with a hook, I'll send it to you, you'll look at it, you'll send me something back, and then we'll have Nick look at it. And people that focus on growing and getting together will help everybody kind of have a better idea. I mean, you've sent me some stuff, and I was like, well, I would do this. And you're like, well, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that. I never even thought of it. Just getting those different perspectives of people knowing what the goal is and what the formula is and what the, how it all works, getting them together to help each other and kind of that collaboration. I think that's the biggest thing. So any niche has an audience. They usually have big audiences. It's just taking the things that work and implementing them. You know, I think the kids shorts channel could be a thing. I mean, someone out there do it, go for it. Like, I think there's a huge opportunity based on all the other kids' YouTube channels.
That's a really funny. I like that idea. Because like so much of when you're swiping through your own feed, it's based off of your own judgment of like, oh, that's a terrible short swipe away, but I wonder what a kid would think of like,
it's probably just bright colors.
Yeah. I could see if it, like, you know how like Netflix has like the adult version and then like the kid version. And then if you're on the kid version, it's like, no matter what you click on, it's going to be
great.
G or PG.
Yeah. And awesome. I love it. I love going on her Netflix. I'm like, this is more fun than mine. Everything's like just a fun, happy movie. I think we had talked about earlier, you might be doing some sort of like newsletter, and we're trying to figure out what the newsletter is going to be. Magnify tells, you know, when people ask me like, well, what's this channel about? And I'm always just like, interesting facts, really weird deep dives on interesting facts, but in 60 seconds. And a newsletter is going to allow you to maybe elaborate on some of these
That's true.
facts. I think it's going to allow you to reach a different audience of readers, you know, just a different way. And so I think the newsletter is going to be a different tool, and you're a very good writer. So for you to be able to maybe elaborate on certain stories that you couldn't get in 60 seconds, but you're not going to do a long form video on. So there's a lot of different things I think you're going to do with this newsletter. And I think you're based on your subscriber base. I'm not sure if they're newsletter people, but we'll see. And the people that do enjoy reading, I think there's a huge opportunity there. So I think you've got some really fun things that are coming for the future. So the big thing is go subscribe to Magnify so you can see what happens. Christopher, I really appreciate you coming in, sharing your advice, sharing your knowledge. It's been amazing watching it grow. It's probably going to double by the time this is posted, just based on the current growth. It's wild, but it's been really, really fun seeing it, and wish you the best of the continued growth.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.